All right, man. Thank you so much for coming out to the interview.
All good.
I'm Sam. This is Flwr Chyld. So I know you just dropped Iridescent Love, and one of the things about that album is because you're a producer, pretty much all of it's collaboration based.
Right.
And I was going to ask you, how important to you is it that you find collaborators that you vibe with on a creative level?
I'd say it's super important because, like, you have one thing with producers who, like, just release beat tapes, but one thing that was big for me, I've always been inspired by, like, people like, say, for instance, K Tronada or whatever, probably, like, one of my biggest influences. And so, like, in me, like, kind of finding my way and determining, like, my own destiny, that's something, like, I kind of, like, looked forward to. I was like, dang, like, if I want to get to this level and, like, make the best music possible, like, you have two elements with music. You have music, and then you have lyrics, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like, for me, the best way for me to, like, convey my artistic message, I don't have a vocal myself, so sometimes, like, I love to create with other people who can like vibe well with what I'm doing, and they can, like, help manifest, like, my vision.
So do you usually rely on the singers to songwrite as well, or do you contribute a lot to that?
No. Sometimes, like, well, it kind of depends, like, if I already started writing something to it.
Yeah.
Like, for this project, for Feel the Breeze.
So you have
like,
lyrics in mind a lot of times.
Yeah, like, I'll have, like, little melodies in my head, and sometimes it's kind of like, it fluctuates. Like, some people reach out, like, or when I reach out to certain people, they're like, yo, I, like, really like this beat. Like, did you already start writing something to it?
Yeah.
It's either, like, yes or no, If I only have, like, a hook or something, like, I let them know, like, oh, I have this, like, melodic idea, like, for instance, like, on Coco with Shook Savage.
Yeah.
Like, I sent her, like, this little demo that I had just as a voice memo. She's like, oh, I like this a lot, like, because I was like, this is what I had in mind for, like, the flow or whatever, and she, like, executed it perfectly, versus, like, something like Feel the Breeze, like, I wrote that while I was at work. And I sent the rest to Ryan, and we just got to, like, vibe and got that together.
That's awesome. So then it's pretty cool for you, I guess, to find people who just kind of, if they're writing, if they're adding to it, they're contributing sonically, and they know where you're coming from, so they're able to send you back something that you're happy with.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, one thing for me is just, like, there's a reason why I'm listening to why I reach out in the first place. It's either because, like, I love their vocals, or I love their writing, or both,
Okay, cool. And you said that your biggest influence right off the rip is K Tronada.
Yeah.
So what do you do differently than him that you want to differentiate yourself, and then where do you take inspiration and put that into your music?
Well, the difference, I feel like, a lot of his stuff is obviously, like, I make house music, but most of his stuff is, like, very house-driven. I grew up, like, in a household, like, with my dad, where I was brought up on a lot of neo-soul and jazz.
Okay.
Like, you hear those influences in his music, but, like, there are certain, like, in certain songs, for instance, like Love to You, it's, like, very, like, neo-soul driven. That's not, like, something that I would, if I listen to it, the first thing that comes to mind would not be K Tronada. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to, like, develop my own sound with that, and, like, put all the pieces together with, like, everybody that I'm influenced by, and, like, make it make sense.
Yeah. So what would you say is one thing, just one particular thing that you love about what K Tronada does that no one else does?
When you hear a K Tronada beat, you know it's by K Tronada. And it's not a bad thing at all. You know what I'm saying? Versus, like, I love trap music, but you can't differentiate it because, like, everyone is using, like, the same thing. Like, with K Tronada, it's just, like, it's him, and he does a lot of the same things, like, uses the same, like, drums sometimes, like, or, same synths, but it just sticks out every single time, and it works every single time.
How would you describe the style of music that you make genre-wise? Like, what would you call it?
I don't even know. I would say, like, I don't like to use the word, like, alternative R&B because, like, I put house elements in there. I don't even like to use the word R&B because, like, that just kind of, like, draws back to, like, that super, like, cliche, like, oh, I miss my girl R&B in the early 2000s and stuff like that. Like, I say, like, neo soul, and I don't even like genres, to be honest with you, man. I hope we eliminate that altogether.
Your son does seem to bridge a lot of gaps, which is really cool about it. And so, what do you want people to learn from this project? Whether it's spiritually, whether it's emotionally, whether it's from music? Like, what do you want to give to people from this?
I want people, when they hear it, to know that I had a good time making it, versus Reflections. Like, I was just kind of like going through a lot, you know, because 2017 was like a transitional year for me, like mentally, spiritually, like all of that. And like this time, everything like came together a lot easier because of that. What happened in 2017 with just me being in school and stuff like that, you know, I want people to know that I had fun and that I like really care about like every element that I put into my music.
How do you think that your music, like the process of making Reflections, helped you grow spiritually, or do you think it was just a pure outlet for you?
Nah, definitely. Because that was my like first EP, like, you know, under my rebrand, because I went by like my regular government name, but I just kind of like had, I guess you could call it something like a spiritual awakening, like, and I just like stumbled upon like Flwr Chyld or whatever and just kind of like decided to go by it. And then like, you know, me coming into my artistry and trying new things as a producer and like, you know, really finding my sound. I think that I did that on this project, like letting people know like I don't have one sound. I have like a few different pots that I put my hand into and make it all come together.
That's really interesting. So, where did you come up with Flwr Chyld? Because it matches your music. That when I think of your music, it makes me like this. Like that's,
yo,
you know.
That's like people ask that question. I love telling this story. It was the first time like I like traveled a different place to go network. Like I just kind of like said screw it, and I went to New York with a couple friends or whatever. You know, I think my intentions were a little different than everybody else's. Like, you know, we were going there for spring break, but you know, I reached out to different people on SoundCloud and stuff like that. Like, yo, I'll be in New York. Wanted to know if like you wanted to meet and just talk, vibe, work on some music or whatever. And this is like when I was like kind of trying to find my sound or whatever. Yeah. And said by said, like I reached out to him when I got to New York. It was literally the day before I came back home. We vibed and everything, and I told him like, bro, I'm gonna make a beat for you when I get home. I'm gonna send it to you. Right. And this was like March of 2017, like when I switched that name. I made a beat for him and I called it Flwr Chyld, and it wasn't spelled that same way, but that Flwr Chyld just kind of stuck with me the rest of that day. And the day after, I was like, damn, I kind of like want to like change my name and stuff like that, because I felt like my government name was like super cliche. And like it made sense because I create from an emotional perspective, you know, and emotions have different colors, in my opinion. So, you know.
So what's your favorite color then?
Bro,
based around that interpretation of it.
And this isn't going to make any sense because I like super neutral colors like black and gray and stuff like that, navy blue, because I feel like you could do a lot with that. Like, but like, you know, as far as like musically speaking, I guess like my favorite color would be like really warm colors like yellow, orange.
I see that all over your aesthetic. Yeah, that's interesting. It's cool because it shines through. It's very consistent and it's naturally consistent with your sound. Like your sound sounds yellow and brown to me. Right. You know, and I don't know how else to describe that. Like it just does. It just works. So you think there's a lot of power behind the moniker you go under when you're creating music? Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Like I always try to create from like an emotional perspective. So do you think producing as Flwr Chyld helps you as opposed to producing as Kevin? Is that like a differentiation you make in your head? Yeah, I mean, that's who I am. You know, that's how I was brought up and stuff like that. But me, like, I feel like it was something like set in stone before I even got here for me to have that name specifically. That's interesting. That's cool. That's really cool. And what does your music do for you when you are creating music? What does that provide for you emotionally and spiritually? Reassurance. Sometimes like when I'm going through it or whatever, it's weird because there are days like where I'm not able to create effectively or as efficiently as I like to, but then the days like where you know you got one, like the days like where I make love to you, you know, you just know the potential that it has, and then like here we are, it's like doing great. It's a great song. Yeah, man. It's a really good. I've been listening to your album obviously all day today just because, you know, to get the vibe and dude, like. Thank you, man. It's good, man. You got a whole bunch of like. Are you taking a shower? We're keeping that in there. You know. But yeah, you can tell that you took so much care and effort behind this album. Was it ever a point where you felt like you had to force your way through to finish some of the songs, whether it's a certain element that you just had to force and you to move on to the next, or was it all a good process of growth and like it was entirely stress free?
I wouldn't say it was entirely stress free because like I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like when I first started creating this, because I told her I was like, bro, I want to like I think it's time for me to make another EP. It was like literally like 2 or 3 months after I dropped Reflections.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, it's time. Like that was, a filler for people, but like that that didn't give people a great idea as to like who I am. It kind of did. It was like an intro for me. So like I started creating Iridescent Love around, I guess I should say July.
Okay.
Right? And that was like, it sounded very floaty and whatnot.
So it's been almost a year.
No.
Creation.
The first song that landed on Iridescent Love was Feel the Breeze. I made that beat in late September, early October, to give you an idea of how easily everything came together.
Okay.
Like once I got that done, I was like, oh yeah, I already know like where I want to go like artistically, and and it just kind of like made sense. It kind of had like a snowball effect because after that, I started making things on accident and stuff like that. I was like, this makes sense with the last thing I did, and like versus things like they kind of felt forced where I was like, oh yo, I gotta make something for the EP today, so I can meet my deadline or whatever. Versus things like I was just playing around with like, oh damn, this actually sounds fire. Let me let me finish this up. Let me get some people to play, get some live instrumentation on this, and like started reaching out to more people. I really just kind of like took a leap of faith with a lot of people like I reached out to. I was an actual fan.
All right. Shouts out to Harry, camera guy extraordinaire.
Thanks, sir. You're the best, man.
Right. Okay, what are your personal goals and how do you view success from your music? Like, what metrics do you hope to achieve in your life with your music?
Personally, I just want to make sure that I'm comfortable. Like, coming up, like, I wasn't, things were kind of, like, shaky sometimes. Like, my mom, like, she did, like, a damn good job, so did my dad, But I want to make sure, like, I'm in a position, like, when I'm providing for my family, like, my kids, like, they're good, like, with everything, you know what I'm saying? Put them through school and stuff like that, Another thing is just being able to survive, because being in school, it's pretty rough, you kind of, like, live check to check, and you got part-time work, you got creative goals that you want to meet and stuff like that. And also be able to live a semi-low-key life. I know it's gonna be hard once I get to a certain level, but travel, do things I've never done, see people, places I've always wanted to see, Those are pretty much all my goals in a nutshell.
Okay, awesome. So how has ATL, Atlanta, how has the city shaped your personal and musical identity?
That's a tough one, I'm not gonna lie. I will say for original content, it's done something, Atlanta, I feel like used to be popping, like a popping place for R&B, specifically in the 90s and stuff like that. But now it's in a place where it's like not, necessarily like amazing or great for R&B artists. So you have to like do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
But as far as like some of the content that I put out, like remixes and stuff, I feel like trap music definitely like influences that sound specifically because like, I love adding 808s in my music and stuff like that. But I feel like I have like certain trappy like elements in my music,
Okay, true. And how important is the role of percussion in your music? Because I see that everything
Atlanta,
is...
I will say that.
Yeah.
That and some things like, I gotta give credit to Timbaland, man. Like, I grew up on a lot of his production. Like, my dad listened to a lot of Missy Elliott, Aaliyah, Genuine. Like, those are, like, definitely, like, Timbaland and his, like, ability to, add syncopation within his rhythm is crazy. It's insane. And I didn't realize I was like being influenced by it until like I got older and started listening back to some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, like I was being influenced by this stuff the whole time and didn't even know it was just in my subconscious. It's crazy.
All right. Well, that's pretty much all that we had. Did you want to say anything? Did you want to shout anyone out? Anything you wanted to shout out that you have going on that you want people to check out?
Yo, I'm just gonna go ahead and shout out like everybody from the project. Let's go top to bottom on the track list and shout out Mia Gladstone, Bricks, Gremlin, Tanya Ayeba, James Tillman, and Shook Savage, AJ Putman, aka AJ ruined my record, my manager Grant. I'm trying to think. My mom and dad for like really supporting me on like this creative journey. Trying to think. Alex and Shane, phenomenal on their instruments. Bass guitar, electric guitar. I can't really think of anybody else. I appreciate y'all for this. It's great energy here. I never got through an interview that easily. So
Awesome. Well, thank you. Y'all make sure to check out Iridescent Love from Flwr Chyld on Spotify or wherever you like to listen to music. Run that shit up. Blue Summer out.
Tied up to show when I have less, you give more.